Mastermind call with the Dream Makers Network. So excited to have you guys to be back for our Mastermind call. For those of you on for the first time, we welcome you and we appreciate you taking time out of your morning or wherever you are on the globe and wherever you're hearing this for the first time. My name is Byron Deese, and we have hosted this call, the Mastermind call. Now I can just about officially say 13 years. 13 years we've hosted this call, starting Labor Day of 2012. So we're just about here with Labor Day weekend. Labor Day of 2012, we started this call, and it is just amazing to be here 13 years later, still connecting with folks and being committed to the purpose of personal development. And what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your family? What does that mean for your community? What does that mean for your economics? Like the whole nine, just being in a space where you have made a unique commitment to growing from where you are, regardless of what your past was, regardless of all the things that many may identify as barriers or reasons to not move forward. All of those things that you just made a decision to be willing to push past all of that for the purpose of seeing what it is that you are actually uniquely here to do in this life. Taking all of your energy, all of your thoughts, all of your ideas, the spirit that you have, the network that you've created, collecting all of that and saying, I'm going to pursue what I truly believe I'm here to do. Just as simple as that. And for the past 13 years, we've come together for that reason. Early on Saturday mornings, primarily early on Saturday mornings, because, anybody's willing to get up, I shouldn't even say get up, but just attend something that's in the middle of the day, but what's the sacrifice? Where are you from a willingness perspective? Are you willing to wake up early, regardless of what your time zone is, to connect with like-minded people for the purpose of personal development, to listen to where folks are in their journey, to be willing to communicate and share what's going on with you, especially if, some people may identify themselves as shy or introverted or whatever the case may be. And are you willing to push those things in front of you getting past those barriers that have hindered you from going from where you are to where you want to be? That at the core is why we host this call. Now, the Dream Makers Network, over the years, we've had activities and events and businesses and, just all types of things going on throughout the community and multiple markets. And so making sure that we're hosting events and activities and providing services and resources that will give you some of the tools to help you along the way, to introduce you to someone who may be helpful in starting your new business or making a connection that could help you in the new organization that you have, or meeting a new milestone with the current entities and programs that you have going on right now. And we're thankful for those activities and the networks that have been created. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that from a mindset perspective, from the idea phase, from the willingness and even just having the audacity to still dream at the age and level that you are today, that you still take dreaming seriously, that it is something that is still part of your core objectives, to recognize where you are in your goals and the things that you want to accomplish, and then to allow yourself to just escape into the world of what's possible. That's a question that we have to really ask ourselves. How often do we just create space and time for yourself just to escape into the world of what's possible for you, what's possible for the things that matter to you, what's possible for the people that matter to you. All of these ideas that become goals and that become things that give you energy and that you may even be willing to actually even pursue. Do you allow yourself time to just escape and see what's out there, what's even maybe there for you? That's at the core of why we host this mastermind call, because we want to interrupt your current life, the things that have, responsibilities listed next to it, and the people who are dependent or dependent on you to provide, and all of that stuff that we have committed ourselves to, and rightfully so. But for this call, we make sure that for just an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on how long we stay, that we do commit to ourselves, that we get back to you, and not from a, oh, I'm just so self-centered perspective, and I could care less about what anybody else has going on. But I do recognize that most of you are just, number one, you're busy people doing things to help other folks. So we want to just carve out some time for you to feel comfortable, to feel that it's okay to invest in your spirit, to invest in your mindset, to invest in your dreams, to invest in the things that are important to you. Before you hear the baby or the grandbaby or whoever else, start pulling for your attention, your husband or wife, before the office starts calling or the client start, texting you or whatever the case may be, we wanted to just at least create a window of time that you are allowed to dive deep into the trajectory of your life goals and dreams. And that is at the core why we are here, why we host this call. And as Napoleon Hill said it in Think and Grow Rich and the Law of Success in 16 Lessons, when 2 or 3 people in the spirit of harmony come together, that collective mind, that collective energy can help you to access thoughts, ideas, opportunities, possibilities, things that you may not have been able to do on your own. That is why we bring together and host this mastermind call. Because if we can get lined up on the purpose of personal development and what that means for you, then we could very well walk away from this call with that idea, that message, that piece of information that we were trying to figure out earlier in the week or last month, but we didn't have the right network of energies ready to take your ideas, your thoughts to the next level. And so we're just thankful that you're here, that you were willing to join us for the call this morning. Can't wait to hear from you and connect with you here on this call. And we hope you're ready, because this is, I will say, I am. So we're so thankful again to have you joining us for the Mastermind call this morning. Well, I want to say this off the jump. And for those of us who have been a part of this network for years, I can't even remember a time where we essentially skipped a month in this call, hosting this call in the past 13 years. We skipped the month of August, because we're technically pretty much into September. And usually to that point, we host this call the first Saturday of the month. But I could not get out of August. I said, we gotta get a call in here in August and properly close out our 90-day goal setting challenge, where from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we focus 100% for 90 days. Take the summer and dive into accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself. That you just carve out 90 days, 3 30-day increments, if you will, to identify, pursue, and more importantly, to weave that process, to weave the successful traits into your normal, to create a new normal that is focused on accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself. That is truly the objective for the 90-day goal setting challenge. And I can tell you it's been on a more personal level. The last 90 days have been everything it's supposed to be. You know, it is one of those things where you hope that when you come out of the block strong and you're pursuing those goals, and you hope that you can just run that race and everything good happens, nothing bad happens. It's just I just ran straight to the top and it was a breeze, right? But that's not how life works. Life does not work that way, at least not for me. So this has been a time period of pure commitment to goals and the mindset. And coming out of Memorial Day was, there was goals of setting health goals. There were set business goals, relationship goals, and this is definitely, I will tell you, for all of you who are on, this is a time of reflection, if you will, to take a step back and look back on how did you measure in the things that you decided to commit to. And I will say, just all in all, through the storm, through the pain, through all of it, I'm truly thankful and proud, to be honest with you, of not giving up when it was tough, not giving up when things when tragedies happened, when things just really became emotionally difficult to even stay, clear-eyed. You think about, you have those things that you think will probably happen on your journey to accomplishing your goals, and then those things that you aren't expecting to happen, and then the emotions that you have that you didn't, it wasn't in the playbook. You weren't even planning or preparing to deal with any of that stuff. You just were ready to roll, ready to accomplish those goals. When life begins to happen, what happens to you? What happens to your goals? What happens to, the things that you've committed yourself to, the people who are dependent on you? What happens? Do you push that to the side, or you keep going? And then let's add to that. Even if you are one of those people who says, you know what, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. At what point do you find peace? Because you can keep going, and you can put that good smile and show those pearly teeth and all of that, and keep rolling. But do you even have a concept of what peace means for you when your activities, your actions, your thoughts are all pushing past, the realities of the world, the challenges that show up, the successes that you receive? Even in success, many times peace is not there. We're pushing through and trying to accomplish all these things that we believe would add value to our families and our community. But is peace there? And that is a question that's important for us to really try to wrap our arms around. Because at the end of the day, I'm a strong believer in purpose. And this whole, and for those of you who received the call information yesterday, it's the path to purpose is really what we're here to talk about today. How do we get back to purpose? And if you've never been in a space where you were committing yourself to purpose, what's the road to get there? And we want to take some time and dive into that. But I'll say off the jump, it's important. If peace is not in purpose, then we need to get back to the drawing board. Have we included peace of mind, peace of spirit, comfort in your own skin, in your own space? Is peace there in the purpose that you set for your mind, in your mind, the purpose that you believe is your core reason for breathing this air every day, the objective of why you're here? Is peace somewhere in there? Or if you say, some folks say, hey, I have peace when I'm dead. It's like, well, I don't even know if that's peace, right? Because, I mean peace during this time of your life. While you're active, can you associate? Do you even know what that means? Is it even remotely part of this whole purpose equation that we talk about? And so, again, for the purposes of this call, we want to make sure that we interrupt all of the things that keep you going, if you will, that keep you busy, that you're responsible for, all of those things that we know sometimes neither purpose or peace is wrapped up into it. You start asking yourself, why am I doing this again? If I'm not on a path to peace or purpose, then why am I doing this, right? But again, who knows if someone else is having these types of conversations with you. And so we want to make sure, again, that as we take a step back and reflect on the past 90 days and what you've committed yourself to, what happened? What happened? What did you learn? What was a success for you? What was painful? What are you experiencing right now? And how do you feel about tomorrow? Based on everything that's happened over the past 90 days, how do you feel about tomorrow and your willingness and your ability and what you've created? Is it now something that will still be there tomorrow as you continue to begin to try to create a successful lifestyle, a mindset shift, a on autopilot goal setting regimen that you have that's happening day after day after day? My morning routine, my afternoon routine, my willingness to do and say things that I didn't do before. And in all of that, do you feel that purpose and peace is at the core of everything that you're doing? This is really, I would say, it's a real conversation that I'm excited to have. I want us to be able to have these type of conversations much more often, because at the end of the day, what's the whole purpose of all of this if we don't feel truly, not even, if we don't feel that the work that we're doing on a daily basis is adding value to your peace and to your purpose? And so with that, I want to take a second to open up the call. This is just, I know we've added a lot. We didn't have that month, in our last call was in July, around July 4th. And so we didn't have our moment in August to even dive in and kind of collect what happened in July. And so I'm sure there's a lot to unpack. And I'll tell you that was August was also for a reason why we didn't have it, because we were actually on our way. Yeah, I was actually flying on the way to Oak Bluffs and Martha's Vineyard on this Saturday morning of our calls. Like, okay, I can't do the call from the air. And and August was definitely just kind of a jam-packed month. But I felt like with this network, rightfully so, because if you're pushing your foot on the gas on accomplishing the goals, then we'll have something to talk about. So my apologies on why we didn't come together in August. But let's take a second, open up the call. Who's willing, ready to kind of take a look back at the last 90 days? What worked, what didn't work? How do you feel right now about where you're going? Give us the drama. The drama's in the details. So we'll take a second and we'll open up the call now. All right, I'm going to start this thing off. I will start this off, and I'm trying my best. What's so interesting about this is that the past 90 days have been so emotional. I would say abnormally emotional for me. That it is, in many ways, it's hard to even communicate it. But I'll tell you, coming into Memorial Day and getting started, a couple things that were really at the top of my mind. There were some things happening that I wanted to begin the process to dive into and to grow. One is growing Engage Wealth, our financial service company, and making sure that we had the right type of process in place to help really add value to our clients. And let's just go one step further. Wanted to make sure we had the right clients. And this one big part for me is I had to go through a process of ending some relationships, some business relationships that, you got to be real clear-eyed in what you're doing. And you better be very clear-eyed in what you're doing in terms of ending business relationships, because at the end of the day, business relationships is your bottom line. But at the same time, being focused as to how we can be of the most support. And our target client are business owners who are growing their companies and looking to potentially maybe sell, or they're trying to increase the value of their business to at least put them in a position to either continue to grow or to prep the business for a sale. And just providing a lot of the wraparound financial services to support that activity. And it was one of those moments. It's one thing when when you're working full time for a company and you decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna end this engagement. This isn't the right type of client for me. And you still got that steady paycheck coming. It's another deal altogether when you make that type of decision, and that client represents 25-30% of your revenues. That's a different conversation. And going back to the topic of purpose and peace, because when we think about purpose and peace, one, what is it that I'm actually trying to do? What is the impression? What's the work that we're trying to do here? And two, am I filled with anxiety about that work, or am I filled with passion and am I motivated? And that is kind of that test for me personally. Am I filled with anxiety, or am I filled with passion and purpose? And I will take that measuring stick with me forever, and prioritize that over profits, because the last thing I want to be is a wealthy dead man. So, who could care? I could care less if say, boy, that's a lot of zeros in your bank account, and I'm a nervous wreck on one day out of here, kind of thing. But to be able to build the lifestyle and make the type of impact in this business that, for me personally, to know that purpose is being applied on a daily basis, and that there's peace in my spirit, that now, number one, the work is a blessing to me and them, and two, that I'm excited to share that with somebody else, whether it be someone else on the team, a new contract, a new employee, the whole nine. And that I would say is the true blessing of this summer, of the past 90 days, is that in multiple markets, multiple locations, able to continue to tell that story, able to bring on new clients who truly need help, who truly need support, and to apply that methodology, to apply that approach, and go to sleep at night feeling good about the work that's being done, and being able to also advance profits that are contractual, that are long-term engagements, which at the end of the day is what we're trying to create in terms of business, so you can have confident revenues and not one-off wins, and you're trying to figure out how to recreate that win the next month. And so and just to add to that, so going through that experience of bringing on some new engagements, ending some old clients engagements, and then when one of my childhood friends passed away, for some it was unexpected. He shared some issues that was going on from had heart disease, and same age, a couple months apart. Beautiful family. What it did for me was, how we just kind of look out into the future and say, okay, got it, so got some time to really get this going and get this together and get that together. And then you see somebody you grew up with pass away, and then that time just shrinks all of a sudden, just like in no time. It's like, oh, wait a second, this thing could be over, today, and for me, my grandparents lived into their 90s. Both of my parents are in their 80s, so your mind you think about longevity based on those, your parents and grandparents and folks who, but when you have friends that pass away, it really will shock your psyche, if you will. And then on top of that, makes you take a strong look at everything that you're doing, all the time being spent, what's worth it and what needs to get out of here. What is, why am I doing this? Doing a proper inventory of the people that are in your life, the things, how you spend your time, like all of that stuff, like really doing a proper inventory to say, you stay and you go. and being very comfortable and confident about that process, because especially if we preach this thing about purpose and peace, so much. And if you're sitting, it's one thing to preach purpose and peace, and then to be living in pure, and anxiety and concern and worry, and that, and when you begin to see, and I tell you, July was just a month just filled with unexpected deaths, just from, and even, even this week, we're in August trying to, get out of this, this summertime. And, one of my old bosses, who truly, when I was a student at Tuskegee, truly set just, I mean, she really made some investments in me and I wasn't thinking a lot about it at the time when I was a student. You know how it is when you're a student. You're just trying to graduate and make some money, but this sister truly, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and she invested, she dove in, and she gave me, she said, "Hey, I'm gonna challenge you. Try this, I'm not showing up at the meeting, you run it, or if I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna be in the back, you run it." And I was a student, and it was a lot of the things that I learned from her to this very day I still use, especially with a lot of our community work and things we're doing in the community. So it's just been, as so many positive things have happened in terms of business and family, which is, I'm also, I had some goals from a family perspective of my wife and daughter, and thankful for all of those progresses that are happening. Not knowing how to effectively, deal with grief, and just, again, when you say, I'm just going to push through it, we're going to be all good, but when things happen and your spirit says, it's okay. It's okay to, I don't know what you're doing. I'm about to cry. I'm about to be sad. I know you're busy, but I'm about to be sad right now. So, and I'm like, wait, not right now is not the time to be sad. I got this going on. I got this, this is over here. I don't have time to be sad. I said, whatever, I'm sad. I'm sad, and I'm about to cry. And I'm like, what? And so that's reality. And that was the reality of this, of the past 90 days. I mean, even as I look back on it, we went to Martha's Vineyard in June for Juneteenth, and really to kick off the summer. Really, it was was there for Juneteenth, and was, for those of you who've been to Martha's Vineyard, it was a much more relaxed time to be there. It's not as busy. It still had. We go to Martha's Vineyard, particularly to Oak Bluffs, because first of all, it's a beautiful place, but we go during the festivals when there's a lot of Black history, and able to just meet with, when people come, as you guys know, when people come together for a singular objective, which is to celebrate Black history and to access others who care, and it's a great time to exchange and network and meet like-minded people. June was a good time to be there, just for and just kind of relax a little bit. And we went back. We went back in August, and August on the Vineyard is like, imagine, the top 10 HBCUs all come together for homecoming on an island. And that's what it's like, and not so much the students, but the alumni from the past 20, 30 years, and even some more, all say let's show up on an island and pack out one particular town, right? So it is hustle, bustle, nonstop events, activities. We went to a conference, the Funders and Founders Conference. Brought one of my clients with me. I mean, we just really had an unbelievable time in business, but also in fellowship, in networking and connecting with people who are just, how you always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find some new rooms. Like that's the place to go to be in rooms where you are not the smartest person. So that is listen, if you're trying to figure out where to go, it's like, yeah, you're right, man. I'm always the smartest guy in my room. All right, meet me in Oak Bluffs anytime in August, and you will definitely find some rooms where you are not the smartest person. And that is truly the blessing of it, because to add back to the whole point of making sure that you're pushing your goals and ideas and trying to accomplish your goals, but being in markets around people who and being willing to share and communicate what you know and understand, and still being able to add value in a room full of smart, great, progressive people. That in and of itself is a way to challenge yourself, to a way to double down on what you have decided to build, something that you've decided to commit yourself to, and you get out there and you start communicating and sharing that to other people like you. Like that's what this whole thing is about. And it was just a wonderful time of pushing myself. I was about to say, getting outside of my comfort zone, but I'll be honest with you, I think that was my comfort zone. I mean, it was, it's always good to challenge yourself. And even when you could be nervous and think, oh man, this is outside of my norm. But say, whose norm? Maybe the stuff that you're doing right now, but there's something, if you find yourself excited in markets and in situations that you normally would have thought would be, man, I'm not doing that. That's a big deal. Like, and then you find yourself energized, ready, and perform well in those spaces. That's the type of sharpening the sword that you need, that we all need to put ourselves through. I committed going forward that I'm going to become a sponsor of that conference, the COI Founders and Funders Conference. And just to kind of break that down, the Founders and Funders Conference is a conference of business owners and entrepreneurs. I should say Black business owners and entrepreneurs meets Black venture capital and Black private equity funders. So folks who have the money to help scale your business meets people who have great ideas, who are running businesses that are growing, and they come together for 3 days in a conference, and just, you get a chance to see that deal flow in an intimate space and hear presentations. We hosted a presentation. One of my clients who's doing the development in Exuma Beach, vacation villas, waterfront properties, just a beautiful, development that's happening right now. Did a presentation for the folks there, and it was great, man. Everybody was just all over it. Like, it was just one of those kind of situations where, where you bring your expertise to the table. You bring it. You bring all the stuff that you know and understand, and you take it to the marketplace, and you confidently do it with excitement. And you prepare yourself. You're a true professional at what you do. You're great at what you do, and you're not afraid to take that to the people who need it. And not only the people who need it, but the people who have the resources to advance what you're doing. It's one thing to get comfortable in these certain little silos that we have and say, well, the silo is taken care of, it's paying my bills, but there's more. There is more. There's a lane out there where people live. People there's a lane out there where you just live on the edge of opportunity and failure. It's like you're there. It's like I could either win or could lose. And a lot of people don't want to play in that sandbox, because the fear of failure is too much for a lot of folks. But for that, there's just a lane of people who says, I'm more excited about the possibility of accomplishing this, and then just jump from one to the next, just continue and make that the new lifestyle. And my going back to my point, if you can find purpose and peace in that, then that's the lifestyle. That's the life you are supposed to live, if you find purpose and peace in that activity. And so I'm just, I'm just beyond thankful, just beyond thankful for the willingness, the opportunities, the blessings. And I'm proud also of myself for not giving up, and not trying to find an easier way to do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to just say, let me just go over there. And, I think I can coast over there. I am truly proud of myself for not doing that, because if I get over there and just say, I'm just going to coast, in my spirit, in my mind, it would truly, that's where anxiety lives for me, over there in Coastville. Anxiety lives over there in Coastville for me, because that means that I've essentially, I'll just say it. I've given up on those true ideas, those passions, those ideas that keep flirting around in my brain. I've given up on that. And I've decided I'm going to stay over here in a space that I know I can do with my eyes closed, but it's not allowing me to pursue those ideas, the purpose, the goals that I've set. And so, that's been the past 90 days for me. It's been a roller coaster ride of excitement, sadness, motivation, all in one. And that's just the reality of it. So with that, let's open up the call. Anybody want to take a stab at this thing and talk a little bit about what you worked on, what's been going on, the good, the bad, sad, the ugly, whatever. I mean, it's reality is reality. So we'll take a second and open up the call now to anyone who's ready to talk about the past 90 days for the 90-day goal setting challenge. We'll open up the call now. The birthday boy is he's here. The milestone is here. Oh, my man, 50 grand. Let's say happy birthday to our brother Paz Morris, the big 5-0. I love it. I love it. I love it.
There you go. That was the extent of the celebration right there.
Yeah, that's right. You own now, brother. We celebrate.
Thank you for the birthday wishes and the virtual birthday wishes that you and other people who love me and my family led. And kind of, just pulled out the good old bullhorn and just, wish me a happy birthday on your pages and did it. Even in this text message, it was a text thread for the call. And I was just, I went back and I looked at it and then I was like, man, all of the people, so many people just go, hey, Paz, and hey, this, and hey, happy birthday, brother, and all that, And I laughed. Last night I sat down and got on Facebook. And I don't handle I spend some time on Instagram where I'm familiar with the platform. Facebook, not as much. I mean, not like the intricacies of posting and liking and commenting and all that. It's just not on there, right? So I said, all right, well, let me go to Facebook because I know that people automatically hit Facebook up.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook has the same about birthdays and all that, right? So I jumped on there and I saw immediately, your stuff you had put up, stuff Jenny had put up, stuff was there, and then I had all the standard birthday posts. And going back one, before I go any further into what happened with McCarthy and tell my little birthday story, I didn't realize that this Allison's birthday is happening too.
Yeah,
her birthday.
Her birthday was on, I think, Tuesday. It was on the 25th. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to reach. I don't know if she's on the call, but I was like, man, she actually wished me a happy birthday and said, hey, Paz, happy birthday. And I didn't even know it was her birthday. Facebook told me I missed it. Like,
yeah.
I don't be on Facebook like this. See, they put that pressure on you to be cordial. So
to be cordial.
But if Allison's on here, happy birthday. She got the young man going around, and I saw y'all was somewhere doing something with her and the husband and the little boy, and I was like, look at that, getting big.
Getting big.
So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing for her. But yeah, I saw all that stuff, and then I was like, man, people that you particularly posted and was like, oh, happy birthday. You put an old picture of engaged up, and I was like, yeah, boy, today, man. Listen, the young men out there.
Some young men.
making it happen. Some young men out there. And there were people in there who just I didn't know that it was like, happy birthday and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, it's a beautiful thing in the network that people, because you put it out there, say, hey, my man knows me through knowing you, and still was, took a time out to comment and, and say happy birthday and whatever. I was just even more grateful than the people, not more grateful, but it just added to the gratitude when that happened. And then obviously the people I know and I love, and I have had interactions with, family, friends, colleagues, were there saying stuff. It was like, well, that's bad. Then I spent, 16 minutes trying to figure out how to comment underneath the comment. Now I'm talking to everybody. And I did all that. See, now I sound like an old man.
Yeah.
With the Facebook. Not even old man, because my mother is super savvy.
Yeah, she knows it.
At 80 years old. So.
Oh,
but
man.
Anyway, that's that. You turn, we talked about it. About the whole birthday thing. It was like celebration and milestones and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is important, and I know why people say that. But I don't take birthday. I take birthdays seriously anyway, in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
In a 90-day goal-setting challenge way of reflection and all that. I really do. And that's what I've been doing. That's what's been the underlying kind of current for the 90 days, knowing that, this milestone was coming. And, one, concentrating on making it here. It's like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Don't run a red light, sir. Let's stay focused.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's do the right thing and actually arrive, and you can be here to discuss. But I have been reflecting and thinking about some things for this, and then going back, and other things have happened. One, we had a big fish fry, which they had. It used to have annually, but now it's like, I don't know, semi-annually or whatever. But because everybody's excited about it, people were inviting, other people, like not the normal, I guess, county plan that normally comes. So my mother invited her long time homegirl, who is my godmother. Well, I mean, long time homegirl, like high school, kind of thing. Well, before high school, maybe middle school kind of thing. Grew up in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
She's my godmother for a reason. And she came down, right? So that sparked the fact that my mother's house wasn't ready for, having somebody stay with her. And that she lives by herself, and she's also a quilter and all this kind of stuff. So she basically lived in the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine going in there, fabric and sewing machines all around.
Yeah.
Projects that's been worked on, and all kinds of stuff, and just everywhere. It's in her workshop. It's just her, so crazy. We had to go in there, and I mean I had to go in there and clean this place to make it, ready for somebody who, you haven't seen in however many years. They did see each other once, but before that, a very long time, it definitely hadn't been in there working in that space. So I had to clean it up. And in doing that, all of her stuff, a lot of my old stuff, just stashed back there in boxes, pictures, top tool later stuff. So all this is like fueling the thoughts that are like, man, it's coming. And being nostalgic, and being grateful about all the places that, you've been to and things that you've accomplished, that I particularly, just for me, I don't spend a lot of time in that zone. I'm always just kind of in the present and in the future, the far future.
Mm-hmm.
Present, far future. Far future. That's kind of the two places where you can find me if you're looking for me. Not necessarily in the near future, but present and far future. I definitely don't go too much to the past. Like, oh man. But I spent a lot of time. I mean, this thing took some minutes to get it all together. Some days and some, a couple weeks worth of going in there every evening or every other evening, packing up stuff. What are we going to do with this? What are we doing with that? I'm talking about everything from old bills and just stuff. Stuff. This has to be recycled stuff. And this stuff, because just me and her, I'm either aware of all the stuff because, it's just me and her, and I know, I remember when you did this file, and then it triggers what I was doing at that point.
Yeah.
So I remember when you had this file. I was blah, 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 so all of that is like underlined. So that fuels the whole, this happened, and then whenever the fish fry was, the middle of August.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, and around the beginning of August, late July when we started. So all of that stuff is occurring. Anyway, fueling that and moving forward and having me think about what, the direction that I'd like to go in, where you want to be. Which for me, it does. Like, damn, if I was 16, I talk about 16-year-old pad,
mm-hmm.
or a 25-year-old pad. Oh man, 25-year-old pad, you couldn't have told him that he would not currently be like, in essence, Elon Musk. Like,
Elon Musk.
I will have figured this whole thing out. There's no way you can't tell me that. I used to argue with people about, where things would be. Like, it's just, I can do that. You can't, and underestimating what it took to do, with young Zelda.
Yeah.
And also, confidently thinking that that's what it would be. So that piece, and just glad that I'm old enough now to know that how stupid I was then, or ignorant I was then, and to know that those were thoughts that guided me in direction and put me in position to have experiences, and that's where I'm going with this. Experiences that have been just so important, and beyond priceless. Just putting that those experiences to put that indelible mark on your spirit that you can go to when you're talking about like the potential of depression and all that kind of stuff. I have those experiences that really are like that light that can darken the depressed room. If the room is myself, so I got those experiences. A man Goggins in his book, he calls it the cookie jar, right? But you put all these things in this cookie jar, and then you gotta when things are happening, you can always go to the cookie jar because he describes it like as a kid, the cookie jar is always a good thing. You can put your hand in there and get something out of it, and it always feels good. And so I have this cookie jar of experiences that you laugh the kind of laugh to yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
You think about it, you just laugh like, boy, and you are talking about building them now, and going up to the vineyard and all that. And I've been building them too. So I got extra grateful about those experiences, and also reinvigorated about creating new experiences that I found, that I figured out that it's just you tell me. I had a fantastic summer of experiences that I didn't pay much money for.
Okay.
And I was like,
yeah.
Not saying that I wouldn't want everything day to day to be abundant. Like I wouldn't want to just live in the Uncle Scrooge land where I walk downstairs in my basement and there's just a pool of money and I just dive into
it. Yeah.
Then I'm not saying I wouldn't want that, but what I am saying is I've been reflecting on experiences that I've had in important pieces of my life that really don't require that. I've been that piece has been liberating.
Okay.
From the pressure of that, but I also saw that this is the dark side of it, right? Which is important. The dark side is that in allowing fears or self-doubt to stop me in certain areas, I could have more of those experiences in my imagination. You know what I'm saying? I can facilitate more of those experiences. So, all that being said, 50-wise, turning 50, I just said, I'm going to approach things more intentionally in the confronting fears. That's really what I want. Not experiment anyway. I'm never going to turn that down. Experiment on my life is just saying, see, hey man, let me just give this a try. Let's see. I'm gonna do it myself and see.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But really getting into being intentional about approaching fears, recognizing them, and really approaching them. So you're gonna see in this next year, because it's gonna take me a year to change, of doing all these things. Like you can call it the bucket list, but it's not a bucket list of, I'd love to go to Aruba. I always wanted to see the pyramids and the Sphinx. No.
Yeah.
This is the bucket of things that I know to kind of approach dealing with fears and the anxiety and living in that space, so that for the next 50, like my man Benny D said, don't talk to me until I turn 100.
Yeah.
So for the next 50,
yeah.
For the next 50 years, to not have those glaring areas that I have, I know I have, well, I can specifically point to, you didn't do that, but you didn't take that opportunity. Not because it wasn't an opportunity, not because it's because you were afraid of something. You let that fear get you. And then you pivoted to something else. And I know, I can see a lot of them as clear as day. And not regret them. I'm not saying they're regrets, but they are there's the lessons and the motivators for the next thing. Say they're regrets, because it's over. Can't do anything about it now.
Yeah.
But those things, what you can do about it, what I'm going to do about it is get intentional about putting myself in scenarios that will create fear so I can get more comfortable with higher levels so that I can push to the higher level. Right now, I figure I'm about as afraid as, I've dealt with fear in a way that put me here. So I'm like, well, let's do more things that make you uncomfortable and fearful so that we can get, a higher level or get to some other experiences. So that's it. That's my look at this. So you'll see it. I don't know if I put you on all the things that are happening. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, Pat, why did you do that, man? What you doing with that? Why you got your arm in a shark's mouth? Well, man,
I've been afraid of this all my life.
I don't know. That's what I'm going to commit myself to. And for the first 50, so 50, 51, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
So that's it. The 90-day challenge was, I didn't get the contract, so I was working for it. But I know that the company's still there, and we got to reset and find some other opportunities. So that's happening. But that's it. That's nice. It's nice to get it, but it wasn't due to a lack of having a good application and all that kind of stuff. If I was 1963, I'd say, it's because I'm black, they redlined me. And it'd be that kind of thing. So we were qualified, but they just picked other people. So still got the company, and we'll get the financing and do some other projects. So that's where we are with that particular piece.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I got. Those are the two things.
Listen, it looks like that between 50 and 51, we're about to see it's about to get real exciting.
Listen, man.
I mean, for real.
Yeah, culminating with. I don't want to say I'm following the. How you see the celebrity things, but I do think. Will is my man.
Well, I knew Will's your guy.
Will's my guy, man. He's my guy. I can't front. He's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. He's my guy. So I saw him do some things that during that time, and I'm not saying I'm mimicking that, but I did understand what he was saying, and there is some areas in my life that I'd like to explore more, and the fear thing is something that I'm just in reflection, I'm like, we got to get a handle on some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping you, for me personally, it's keeping me in areas of mediocrity that I don't want to be in.
Well, I think it's definitely worth, kind of unpacking fear, because especially if the fear of doing something is linked to, if you're trying to accomplish something, but it's on the other side of the fear. So that part is worth really attacking. I sent out that when I was talking about the path to purpose, and on that diagram that I sent out yesterday, it kind of highlighted 4 areas that we look at on that path, right? So it's like in terms of things that you do. And so one was you love to do it. So it's a passion or part of your mission, if you will. So you love to do it, and that's just why you're doing it. 2 is you're great at it. So it's passion and possibly more so a profession. 3 is you get paid to do it, right? So, you go to work and you get paid to do a certain thing because It's your profession, your vocation. You know how to do it better than other people. And 4, the world needs it. So it's could be part of your vocation, and your mission. And when you start looking at those areas of things that you know how to do, things that you're doing, and you're trying to get to this path to purpose, especially, when you factor in fear. And I was just looking at it, and then my thought was like, if you combine things that you love to do, essentially your passion, your purpose, or I should say your passion and things that you're focused on doing, and the world needs it. If you connect those two and you do it in repetition, means that you're doing it over and over and over again to get really good at it. Now it's become a profession. A couple of things are probably going to happen. One, you probably end up finding your purpose and becoming really good at the thing that you love to do. The world needs it. And, you know how to do it better than most people. The other thing that's probably going to end up happening is that you're going to blow past fear. Like fear, to even the repetition piece puts you in a position to blow past fear, because it's only fearful if you've never done it. But as soon as you do it once, twice, and you're willing to come back and do it again, you're about to blow past fear. So and just thinking about what fear really is and why it's there and what made it. Is it just that, hey, I've never done this before, or I saw somebody else do this and it didn't end too well, right? So I'm gonna stay clear of this. And if that fear is out there, then you have to kind of come back and say, all right, what's on the other side of fear that I've truly, really, really got to have? Like you know what I'm saying? And if it's not something that's so big of a deal, you're not going to do it. And even if you do it, you're only going to do it once. It's not something you're going to go back and do over and over again, because that thing that's on the other side of fear isn't a passion objective. It isn't something that you feel like, if I do this, it's going to solve all the world's problems or whatever, So I think that's worth taking a step and thinking about. If it's important enough for you to even pursue it, to even attempt it, or is it just, I just want to see, I just want to say I did it, kind of thing. Which is going back to like when you see, when Will Smith jumped when he turned 50 and did the skydive, in that example, said, I just wanted to see if I could do it. And if I could do that, I could use that same thought process and energy to attack other fears. So that's one way of really looking at how to just game plan this fear objective. How I'm going, we're going to slay all the fears and during my 50th year. So what's your thoughts when you look at approaching this whole deal of attacking the fears? Is it kind of more on that skydive approach, or is it, man, if I get past this, it's going to open up everything else that I really want?
I think the activity piece, the intentional activity, is the skydive piece, or the whole thing, meaning that the activity of doing it and being intentional about placing fear and approaching fear, being intentional about approaching fear and fighting it or conquering it or addressing it is there. So like it's all skydive thing goes. So that piece is that's what that exercise would be. It's like, hey, you're going to intentionally find some things that you are afraid of, or do put anxiety and fear you, and you're going to go and approach it. There, bam. That's one exercise. Now, the other side of it is there are some things that consistently come up that fit in the wheel of things. So, this is where it is. This is passion. This is happy. Why aren't you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Why haven't you? Or maybe you're just doing a little bit of it. Why aren't you doing more of it? And that's like the regular day-to-day life. Not anxieties, but like those blockages that for whatever reason we don't go in that direction. You described it as, I saw somebody do it and I saw this fail. Sometimes that's the case. That for me personally, that's not always the way. Like just because I see somebody else can't do it doesn't mean that I automatically think, oh, I can't. If anything, it's the converse. Like sometimes I see people and be like, that guy can do that? Please.
Yeah.
Put me in,
Yeah.
But there are reasons why I don't approach things that might fit in the wheel a certain way. So I'm putting that in and experimenting with that and making sure that I'm attacking that, I'm strengthening my courage muscle. You know what I'm saying? And doing things in the face of fear. That's what the exercises and the things will do. That muscle is there. So that as I look on the other side of things, going to the passion and going to those things, I can move into them with courage.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they're working together. I got another story about the that's a classic one. So we went to not Six Flags. What's the other place? The place in Pennsylvania, Hershey Park. And roller coaster time. Now my oldest Paisley, she's been on roller coasters before. The youngest Harper, the no-go for her. Not yet, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have like the smaller ones. So she's right in between the height to get on the big one. And Paisley is big enough now, she's tall enough now to get on, everything, almost everything.
Yeah.
90%. So that was the joint, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting on that. It looks like it's fun. I want, let's go do it. Come on, Paige. My wife has to stay with Father out because we can't have her just roaming around. So we split up. They wait. Me and Paige to get in line. She's like, I'm not getting on that. We're not getting this roller coaster, right? I'm like, she's like, you're gonna make it. I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. But you're all gonna wait in line with me. You're gonna wait in line with me. And we're gonna go through the little thing. And it was the middle of the week, so it wasn't like how the line can be, an hour and a half. It wasn't that long, maybe 25 minutes. Just wait. And she's going through all of the emotions. And this is another thing. Like, do your children, or even people that you really love, when you're really locked in on them, you feel what they're going through. But with children, we have the responsibility to put the example and, and to help them through that, right? So I'm looking at this little person whose face looks something like mine, and she is going through it. It's a line. We're waiting 20 minutes. Anxiety is kicking up high. I'm trying to talk to her. We're using all the techniques that I have, the breathing technique. And I got that. Listen, I got some things. I don't know if you heard, but I'm 50 years old. I know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and these things work. So I get her, but they only work for a certain amount of time. So if I get, breathing techniques will calm you down for a minute, but if the fear is still pending and you still got, 15 minutes of waiting, you see these people in line and you anticipate, oh man, it was crazy. And so she's crying, wiping tears, getting it together, giving hugs. You're going to make me get on. I'm not going to make you get on. Don't worry about it. We make it up to the platform. You got to pick the cost you're going to get on in the line. And let's get in this one right here because it's quicker. And I'm feeling bad. I'm hurting for her pain. But I'm also like, you got to be this. She's like, you going to make me get on? I'm not going to make you get on. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't lie to him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you get on. You're just trying to.
She went through all the emotions.
So, yeah, she's going through all of it. She's going through everything for this 25 minutes. And then she winds up. So we wind up, I get on, and I you don't have to get on. So she goes across. and staying, you know how you stand on the side that you get off at, and she's just bawling, and you're gonna, oh my God, like Matthew's sad for me. I'm like, what are you sad for? You're not getting on. You're okay. You didn't interfere, but she was sad. She really started crying. I mean, ooh, terrible. And I pulled off, you know, hey, I ain't got control of where this thing goes. You know, hey, all clear. I'm left. She came around at the time, pulled back up. She is, you know, just still in tears, right? Looking so sad. And so we come down, and, you know, and Jen and Harper, they're like, what happened? What happened? Because they weren't in line. They don't know.
Yeah.
You know? And Harper was so mad. She said, what did you do to her? You're a bad daddy, right? She was so mad.
You're a bad daddy.
Yeah. So we come down, and, you know, she starts to, you know, wipe her eyes. She gets stuff together. And then later on, she's like, I want to get on. I need to get on another one. I want to get on a big one. Because, and this is the reason why, she didn't articulate this, but I saw it in her eyes.
Yeah.
She was like, it was worse. I was like, you know, you went through all of that trauma for the 25 minutes, right? And then you didn't even get on the ride. That wasn't smart. You traumatized yourself and worried, and then you felt worse when that thing pulled off on the bitch. He was like, I gotta get on another one. I gotta get on one. So then on the way out, we got on an even bigger one. I'm like, we getting on that one. She's like, all right, let's do it. And we wound up, you know, she was still nervous and went through all the emotions for the second time in this other 25-minute ride, and then she wound up getting on it. And obviously, you know how that ends. Had a great time.
Yeah.
You know, roller coaster. It's a minute worth of, you know, of whatever, excitement, and then it's over, right? And so when she got off, I was like, you know, I'm so proud of you. And then we're like, so proud of you, you did it, blah, blah, blah. But when we talked about it, and that was when I had the conversation about the first one. Like, she went through all that. And I said, we went through all that. And you didn't. And you felt worse on the other side, watching me pull off. She was like, I did. She's like, that's when I knew I could. She said, that's why I was crying even harder when you came back. Because it was like, I felt like I had missed it and I wasn't. I said, yeah, that's exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Lesson learned.
Mm-hmm.
Great father in the building. You learned. So I'm happy to teach that. But those, my children are the ones that are, you know, my greatest probably teachers of things that, you know, and if you're aware, you're not just trying to, you know, get over on them and just try to, you know, the award. If you're watching and you're aware, those lessons are being always around for you to learn. I'm like, damn, all that worrying about nothing, and you ain't even take the shot, or you didn't, you know, make the call, or you didn't put in a proposal, or whatever. Or you didn't go to the gym, but you thought about it for 3 months, and then didn't do it. And then later on, saw somebody who did, and that's you're not even jealous. You're mad at yourself, one, for going through all that anxiety, and obviously for not, you know, taking the actual shot. So like those type of examples is what I'm talking about. You know, being able to look at it, conquer, and then attempt it, and then take the L. So in or get the W. So in the project thing, we went through all of it, and we didn't get it, but I put it in. You know, I followed back up. I tried to talk to the dude who, you know, so those kind of things. There have been instances where that hasn't happened. Where I have looked at the length of not a contract, but of an application or something like that, and I'm like, not doing this, man. This is crazy. Nobody gets all this. You know, who has all of this information ready? You get what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Those are the things. You know, you deal with you dealing with jokers all the time who are business owners, who are searching for funding.
Yeah.
You know. So that I just want to tell that Paisley story is a great example of how I've been approaching them on that. And the roller coaster is so simple.
Wait, was this Paisley or was this Harper?
This was Paisley that had the trouble with the thing. Harper's still not tall enough to get on the thing.
Oh.
She did get on the roller coaster too. I'll tell you her story next.
This whole time I was picturing this being Harper. This was Paisley. Okay, got it. Wow. Okay, you're right.
These are like big, you know, the big grown
Yeah. Okay.
Around,
Okay.
people screaming, you know. They be on those little medium ones, you know what I'm saying, where it's fun and ain't no loop-de-loop. No, I'm like, it's time now.
It's time.
One that, you know, you think you could die on this.
Oh man, that is and what pay
and I came out that was mad about her sister being crying like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She don't play about her sister, yo. She don't play about Paisley. That's a real deal.
Throwing strict jabs at her in a room. When they get outside, it's on.
For real.
But that's that though. But that's the way they approach kind of the combination of the fear versus the passion thing. And then the start. So if you are talking about the passion and the start, you know, things that you are passionate about that you psychologically know. If you look at this wheel, you're like, oh, I'm passionate about this. Oh, I love to do this. I do all that. But why don't you start it? You know what I'm saying? Like that piece. The repetition piece is a whole nother piece to move once you've started something.
Yeah.
Why don't you start it?
Why don't you start it? Well,
you know what I'm saying? So that fear muscle to jump. Let's get that working too. So.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm in a very similar situation right now. I had this conversation the other day with a good friend up here and from college, and you're right. It has all to do with the fear of something, right? So I was, you know, I'm at a spot now in business where it's like, and it's kind of like it's been like this the whole time, almost like my whole career. Is like there's the things that you have to do to really scale and create wealth in business, and then there are the things that you can do that will take care of your lifestyle, right? And so, and then if you can figure out, say, all right, well, you know, scaling in business would be great, but I can take care of my lifestyle and still enjoy the work, right? I don't have to be too busy and this, that, and the other, right? And then, so now I've gotten to a place in business where it's like, dude, it's like clear as day. If you just grew this part of your business, and when you say, so what does it mean to grow it? Like, if you just grew this part, like the stuff that you can do with your eyes closed, what that really means financially. And I was just having this conversation the other day, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. That's all it would take for me is just to, you know, do more presentations, you know, just, you know, market more and things like that. And so, and he asked me a very clear question. He was like, well, why don't you do it? And, you know, and I was trying to be honest with myself, honestly. And I said, so, you know, because I don't want to come off as a cheesy salesperson. And it came out of my mouth. He's like, I don't want to come off as just some cheesy sales guy, you know, and that, I guess, must be the fear, is that, you know, you're doing something you know how to do. You can talk about it with your eyes closed, the whole nine. But for whatever reason, there's like this high school, you know, energy that's still in there, maybe middle school or whatever, of being likable and saying, oh, you don't want to come off as being, you know, I remember somebody sold me that one time, you know, whatever that is. And when it came out of my mouth, I was like, wow, did I just say that? And that was the real way of how I felt. And so then the question, he was like, well, first of all, that's not going to happen because you're not a cheesy salesperson. So get that out your brain. You know, first thing first, you know, but I mean, you know, like off the jump, like, who are you? I mean, if you're a cheesy salesperson, then, you know, people know that, right? But the other part to that is how bad do you really want to be a successful businessman? And what does that mean and why? Like what is that something you really want? And why do you really want it? And that started that going back to like, okay, that's on the other side of the fear of being a cheesy salesperson, of being the perception of being a cheesy salesperson, is you become the, I tell a lot of my clients, I guess I should listen to my own messages. This going back to what the world needs more Black billionaires. Why? Why does the world need more Black billionaires? Well, let's take a look at the ones who are billionaires and what are they doing to affect change in the community. So we only have to think about it's not a lot of them, right? So it's like, okay, what's Jordan doing? What's Oprah doing? What's Robert Smith doing? And the thing is, if we had more, and I just say that, more wealthy African Americans, it goes back to, I had this conversation on the Vineyard. We had to have a lot of, these thought-provoking kind of conversations. So I had a conversation. I always find myself in some type of WEB, Booker T debate, if you will, with folks, and who was right, who was wrong, all of that. And for me, the part that I think history has done to the purpose to Booker T's story is that they've completely, essentially omitted his whole purpose was to essentially preach and teach self-reliance to Black people. It was a self-reliance objective, that we can create all that we need to be self-reliant in this country. That's why he was like, hey, Black folks, come back to the South, because there's a lot of land around here that these old plantation guys don't know how to run. We can take this land, we can build our own communities, we can do all, so it comes back to self-reliance. And for me, that's why my goal of being a successful businessman is important. Because number one, I think back, if I have more resources, I think, well, what am I doing with my money now? Right? So people say, if you get more money, it's going to help you just become more of what you already are. And in my brain, I want to become, a philanthropist that invests in the things that matter to me, that I believe would add value to our communities and to our families and all that. So I go, where am I putting my money now? Are you doing a little bit of this now? And so it's that mindset of, if we have more people doing that. I got clients right now who've kind of had that situation, like first generation new money, right? So first couple of years, man, I bought all the cars, I've traveled to all the different places and all that stuff, and you just get that out your system, right? And now saying, man, I want to put some of this money. I know I got the cars. I'm going to get rid of some of these cars. I'm just going to put that into, getting more real estate so I can create more proper housing for folks, and, just start. So then you start becoming something that's way down in your mind and your spirit. And you thought you never would get a chance to actually be that person. And then now that is here. And you're like, oh, dust that off. You had those ideas, 30 years ago, dust it off. And now let's see what happens if you actually are able to support and fund and create the things that you believe will add value to communities and give people, I give young people an opportunity to see something that they didn't think existed. You know what I'm saying? Like that part of it. Like I remember being a kid playing in Little League Baseball, and all of our teams were sponsored by a business, like a little small business, in the area. Because the businesses were the ones creating and funding the recreation for youth. Like, I'm like, okay, I would be that dude who just, all right, football, baseball, let's just fund it, like, let's get it going. Like, because if you don't have access to it, if you've never seen, if I'm a young kid and all the Black millionaires and billionaires that I know, I see are either, on TV or actors or playing football or baseball or basketball or whatever, then I think that's the only path. But if I see, down the street, brother owns a business down there and he's also funding this and is, like, now it's real. And, so that's my whole point. So is that those ideas, those thoughts about inspiring the next generation to start ending some of the generational curses, if you will. And when I say curse, really just the lack of access to opportunity. Ending some of that, is that bigger than my fear of sounding like a cheesy salesperson? That, what I'm saying? So if we're talking fear, what is it? What's stopping you? What's the barrier that's in the way of you becoming what you really want? That's, for me, that was just kind of the example. I was having a conversation the other day, and I'm like, whatever. I may sound like a cheesy salesperson to maybe 10%, but that other 90%, they're like, whatever, sign me up. And I'm cool with that ratio. So we just kind of have to really be excited about what we really want. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're not really fired up and excited about what we really want, then there's no need to leave the comfort zone. So. Or like how you mentioned, how you said, the land of mediocrity, or just, being mediocre, and whatever that means. I call it the comfort zone, because you can do this. Like, I'm cool right now. I'm good. I'm paying my bills. We can go do a couple things, that kind of thing. But, I just look at it. Now, I will say, though, and you and I, it's a similar situation when you have your young kids, you're married. Those responsibilities, I think, is the next, for me, is that next piece. It's like, all right, I don't want to be so busy that I'm not able to be as hands-on and actively involved with my family. So that's the reason why, for me, and I share this with a lot of my clients, like, passive income, whatever gets me to passive income fast is what I want to do. I did it once and it produced, revenues for a long time. It's going to continue to pay out. If I got to go and actively do something all the time to get it, I'm trying to remove myself from that kind of stuff. I'm trying to separate myself from, oh yeah, I give you $10,000, but you got to show back up over here and do all this stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm thinking about doing something else. Like, I do this one time, but I need it to produce some type of dividend, because we did it good that first time, and it needs to pay some dividends going forward. That way, if your cash flow is residual because you did something great one time, you did something great one time and now it's growing and it's producing revenues, that's where I need to be. And that's the road to financial independence. Because at that point, you do have a lifestyle number that says, this takes care of all the stuff I want to do. And if you're doing it, if it was something great, now that lifestyle number takes care of your lifestyle number, and you still got discretionary other dollars that's ready and available to put back in the community or put toward future generations or whatever the case. But that has to be, for me, passive income has to be an active part of the equation, or else, I'm just exchanging my time for money. And I'm like, been there, done that, tired of doing it, right? It's time to spend my time on the things that truly matter, So just connecting all those dots. I got my man just passed away, and a couple months apart. In the back of my mind, that's always still there. So I'm like, okay, I know my parents and grandparents have lived long lives, but my man just died, right? So I need more time. I need my money to support what I'm really trying to pursue is more time and be more impactful and meaningful in the time that I have. So I need this financial plan to work the same way, right? So what are the things that, investments or businesses that will give you residual income because you did something great one or two times? That's why I love financial services, because those type of vehicles will do that for you. Real estate will do that for you. All those types of things where it can pay you ongoing. So, but we just have to start this process of connecting the dots between our why and our what. So our why is what we're working toward, and all these things that matters to us for a particular, unique, specific reason. And our what is the vehicle we're using to help us get to the why, and if we're having the wrong conversations with ourselves and we're still in the rat race, then that's a problem. That's why these calls are important, right? To say, okay, maybe I am just spinning my wheels here and I'm not in the right, I'm not using the right tools. I'm not accessing the right types of platforms to get what I'm actually trying to attain. So, yeah. And we all need to have a very honest conversation about fear and what it is and why it's there. And, does it have a stronghold on your life or not? Have you even attempted to navigate past it? Or is it just too big and you just say, nah, I ain't touching that? So that's something, listen, sometimes it can seem trivial, but it's worth having that honest, one, conversation about it, and then two, at least coming up with a game plan to address it and try to move past it. So let's open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments on this whole topic? I mean, we kind of diving in on reflecting on this 90-day goal setting challenge, but it's really unpacking that to get to the core of what we believe are the barriers and the passions around what we're doing. So let's take a second and open up the call now.
Hey, this is Ty.
Good morning.
So I just want to jump in. This thing for young people, you said a lot of stuff, you said a lot of things. But about addressing that fear piece is huge. Unfortunately, and you talked about, losing the friend and losing the colleague, losing the mentor. And that's definitely puts life in perspective, unfortunately. But fortunately, for the people who are living, it makes you just really evaluate what is important. And I'm really grateful that you added peace into the equation of purpose, because that is huge. Like, sometimes you can have all the money, the perfect job, all the things. If you have no peace, you can't really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it makes you say, is this what you want to do? And my lesson for myself in this last 90 has been, just because I can do it doesn't mean I need to. I wrapped up my tribe with counting, and I was pissed because it wasn't when I anticipated money-wise, honestly, money-wise. But it was like, that wasn't my purpose.
Yeah.
I could do it because I can build relationships. I know people. I connect people. I get the right people in contact, right? I build communities to get people the results, right? I do that very naturally. But one, they weren't ready to receive it. And two, that's not my life's work. And you also think grief, and I realized a part of me, even being so passionate and interested in that, is a part of my father's life's work. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not proud, and I'm really in his footsteps. And that was part of the reason I never wanted to lose this word, is to stay out of my daddy's footsteps, out of the shadow.
Yeah.
But here I was, like, I actively picking up some of the work that he had been doing and building within his ecosystem. But it wasn't a bad thing, but it's not my work.
Yeah.
And so it really pushed me like, okay, Joan, yeah, you can do it, and you're going to rock this, like, because you get it. But they're not ready, and this ain't your work. So I was like, I ain't call you to be a
Yeah.
get your behind where I'm supposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the garden is, like, it was about to install some stuff this coming week, and the following week, I'm going to do I need to do a camp for this week. We're going to do a happy hour, a sign reveal on Friday. And then I'll have my solar panels and stuff installed by the end of the month, or probably mid-month, actually. We're waiting for it now. So, like, stuff is happening over there, but because of the work I did there, I got a phone call almost immediately for another green space across town. Like, Jones, we need you. You know, I know, like, you told me you weren't doing your contract in North County. Let me put you over here. Can you run this project? Okay. So, it's like, you know, I'm doing what works and what makes sense and what I'm supposed to do, and those things happen very quickly because it's aligned. And if you fill up your schedule with things that aren't your purpose and don't bring you peace, you can't do the things that do bring you peace or align with your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Being really cognizant about that. Busy doesn't mean productive. You're all like the lessons doesn't mean productive. All that matters. And so, and then not allowing fear to determine what you do and don't do. I think Paz said it perfect. There's a couple things Paz said perfect. All of his randomness and awesome Paz stories. He talked about the metaphor he gave, the cookie jars of experiences, and being able to reach in there and get those experiences that actually meet, you know, what you're working on now, and really building that out. One thing the mediocre white men do is they even talk about whatever activity they did with such knowledge, and they're just like, they sound like they know what the hell they're talking about, and they're so proud of their stuff. It's like, they're talking and believing it's amazing, and they're not. They're just a mediocre white man with their big ideas and big thoughts, and they make it sound so amazing. And so my lesson from the mediocre white man is being able to speak about the work that I do with that same level of authority, because I actually have it, whereas they don't, right? And so, like, speaking it and then being able to speak it what you're supposed to, so that that allows you to navigate. But just being really clear about why and how you're going about it, and then reaching in to that jar of experiences and allowing those to build just really intentionally, and not allowing fear or like, what do I belong here? Do I belong here? Am I supposed to be in this space? Yes. So, you know, I've been pulling these rooms. The one lady I met with this week, she was like, what's your connection here? And I'm like, I'm black. You know what I mean? I'm black. I'm in the arts. And I suggest based on our
That's right.
Leveraging our
That's right.
Yeah, I'm black. I'm in the arts. I care about people. So I want to leverage my experiences and my money and my organization to make a greater impact, to provide vision, you know, to provide like the visuals so people can see who's doing the work. We can't continue to be hidden figures in our community. We're like these organizations that are supposed to be these foundational organizations and the backbone of the community. We can't do it in secret, because the people that need us need to see us, and they need to understand the work that we're doing. It's not that we're not working, it's that we're not taking credit for it. And then we expect people to provide validity to the work that we're doing, and they can't, because they don't even know we're doing it. Like,
yeah.
I like the fact that people don't know my name, but the fact that people do know my name is why I get hired or I get put on, right? So I can't have it both ways. Like, my person who I look up to is Jerry Breckenheimer. No one knows what he looks like, but you know his name. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with cats like Cassandra Jones. Oh, Cassandra's there? Who is she? What she do? What she look like?
Yeah.
I want to be, you know, because I want to live. I don't want people flagging me down and meeting the comments. Like, I don't. But at the same time, in order for us to really move, like, take our big words, in order for the people that we say we're doing service for to really see us and to understand and to see that the work that we're doing is for the community and not for our own glorification, they need to understand and see us at the same time. So just like there's this balance of doing it and doing it with intention so that we can get the visibility in some places with the people that might not know that we're doing a thing we're doing. But at the same time, it also gives us some pride around doing the things that we're doing and reminding us of the purpose of why we're doing it. So that's been my 90. I'm still pushing on this health, wellness business and learning to rest. I was going to go somewhere this weekend, but I'm still laying on my bed. So I don't know. I don't know. It's not. I'm not. In the car, but my body's in the bed.
Yes.
But it's what it is. So I need to rest. I'm looking at my house. I need to straighten it and pull it together. So it's not a bad thing. So yeah, it's like all of those things. With that fear and just being aligned and that purpose does come with peace is a necessary component to make you know if you're truly aligned. And again, just because you can do something doesn't mean it's your responsibility to do it. But what's yours is your responsibility. I want to not leave that part out. Yeah, that's the lesson.
Man, you packed so much into that thing. And I will tell you, and I can, Tysana was with us on that first trip to the vineyard. And I watched her every morning at 5:30, whatever it was, get up, go to the gym, walk to the gym, work out an hour and a half, eat right daily. So she ain't talking fluff. This is real deal commitment, discipline. It was inspiring. I mean, we were trying to hang with her, but she was in her zone, and that's there is something. Discipline. Just watching discipline in reality in real time is just a cool thing to be a part of. I will tell you though, you hit a couple things that's so relative to me right now. So one, one of my mentors in business, is, I'm partial to his work because of him, right? And I have so many people, say, man, you need to jump in there and get more involved and, be the future of that. And and it's, yes, I care greatly about the work, but to your point, I'm like, that's his work and I care about it, but that's not my work. You know what I'm saying? And you part of you wants to continue to build on the legacy, of that person and what they've built and keep it going. And I say, whatever I can do, from an advisory perspective to support its future, I want to do, but I can't make somebody else's purpose become mine, and answering that released some anxiety for me because I was like, man, I'm about to go do this. And then I started down that road and I felt anxiety. I was like, okay, all right. No, it's a hard no. So we're going to do what we can to support what you got going on. But, I got to listen to my spirit. And something else that you hit, Ty, that's very close to home. And we talked a little bit about this. Is, there is that line between doing work, being noticed and known for your work, and versus being kind of self-promoting, and just because you need that kind of attention for whatever reason. That is a line that I deal with every day. Because again, on one hand, as I was just talking about, hey, the kids need to see, see other ways to create wealth and positive examples in the community and that kind of thing. And then the other is, I don't really want everybody knowing everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like we got a handful of folks and we're doing work collectively and we're in the shadows and quiet about it, but impact is happening and nobody knew you were involved in it. But the people who were, that kind of like, Vernon Jordan-esque type. Like I got furniture sitting right over my back. It wasn't until the second half of his life, maybe the third part of his life, that people started to know just how much of an impact he played in not just civil rights, but economics and job opportunity, and making things like affirmative action a thing, which they're kind of trying to destroy. But the behind the scenes aspect of it, like I enjoy that kind of influence and going to work and making things happen for people I'll never get a chance to touch and feel. But at the same time, it is important, at least for me, to have to know that young people have, and particularly young Black Americans, to know that there are more examples, there are more options than just sports to make an impact and scale and create wealth. So those things. So these are the conversations. These are the challenges that a lot of folks are having, and it's worth us having. We were talking about that at the conference. The funders are. I mean, some of these guys I never heard of. Speaking of that, I want to, as we get ready to close up here, one of the books that I'm actually reading right now, and I met the owner or the author. It's a book called Black Founder: The Hidden Power of Being an Outsider. Black Founder: The Hidden Power of Being an Outsider by Stacy Spikes. And I met Stacy at the COI Founders and Funders Conference on the Vineyard. Stacy is the owner of MoviePass, and so if you've ever heard of MoviePass, it's an app a membership that allows you to pay a fixed fee monthly and receive movie tickets. So like 4 tickets for the price of 1 kind of thing. And his book, though, is just I guess I'm maybe midway through it. It's just a collection of stories of career progress and decisions that take you from here to there, and intentionality and challenge and all the drama that comes with, being Black in America, and also trying to accomplish your goals and do something that's never been done before. And, it's, navigating the music industry into film and all the way to becoming an owner in that space. Highly recommend this book. Black Founder: The Hidden Power of Being an Outsider by Stacy Spikes. I put it in the chat on here on Facebook and YouTube. Great book. But I'll tell you, he was on a panel that we were in, and with 2 other guys who were just doing unbelievable things in business. But that was the first time. Now I had heard of Stacy Spikes, so I knew about. Actually, we were actually preparing to, like, consider. I didn't know actually at the time he was the owner, but we were looking at MoviePass a couple of years back, and especially when Maddie was younger, and trying to figure out, if we're going to get this membership to go to the movies more often, Disney films and Pixar and all that stuff. But these guys are running wonderful companies, scratching on $1 billion type companies. And most people don't know who these guys are. And, so it's that a lot of times your head is down, you're focused, and you're doing your work. But I always think about this from a socioeconomic perspective. When we go to any major city across America, go to Martin Luther King Boulevard and find the hood. And first question I have is, do these kids believe that there's something more than their reality? And we can't depend on the government to address that. I mean, I know in so many, we always say, well, hey, that's our vote, and we need to vote people who are going to do right by the community and all that. Yeah, definitely. But the philanthropic and the business community can also do something too. And, for folks who care about the community, we play a role in that. And so for me, that's a big deal. That's going back for me. That goes back to, the world needs it and love to do it. Purpose is mixed into that. Purpose is in there. And I'm still on a personal level fleshing out the details of that and what that work looks like practically. But purpose is in there. And I think it's important for all of us to go through that type of an exercise to identify what does your purpose work look like, and what, where the interchange of what, is it big global work, or is it specific community work that can be, done in scale and from community by community, or whatever the piece, but it's worth going through that exercise to start to comb and unpack, what you're naturally gravitating yourself to, and for what reasons, and be able to answer that to yourself. Why am I passionate about this? What in my past or present has me so uniquely linked to this? So that's it's worth that. It's worth doing that. That's when my old boss passed away, and I found out earlier this week, and I started just thinking back to that time period when I was working there at the museum in Tuskegee, and it's like, what was it about even working there that was important to me? And then I started thinking back to as a kid, and like my mom taking me to the Zora Neale Hurston Festival and Black History festivals, and having that as a point of conversation at home, all those early, conversations at home about the importance of preserving our history, and especially as time has gone on, because we see right now, literally, I would say probably my biggest fear is that my grandkids will come into the world and topics like slavery or civil rights, Jim Crow, will become myths and not facts. That somebody will bring up something that actually happened, and they will say, prove it. Where is that? Where have you seen that? Where did you get that information? That's not true. That is somewhere down in there, as a purpose work. I heard somebody say your purpose is either in the activities associated with the things that you love, or activities associated with the things that you hate. Fixing the things that are wrong, and you have big purpose around that, or continuing to embellish and promote the things that you love. The purpose is in there somewhere, and it's for purposes of this call and this network, we want to make sure that we continue to have ongoing conversations around this type of topic, so everybody can walk away with some work, with steps to get you closer to purpose-driven work, and to be able to articulate that when you're talking to other people. Because everybody's trying to figure out, why am I here? What is the whole purpose of this deal? Like, why am I still breathing? And if I'm here, what for? What should I be doing? And, that is a universal question. And I think this is worthwhile conversation. And I think it's important. And I would say it's also exciting to know that you guys are out there having these, even leading these types of conversations that may get one more person closer to self-fulfillment, to self-reliance, to, reduced anxiety, to peace in their spirit, and an extra, step in their walk, that they are moving with a bit more confidence and purpose. That, for me, is why we do this. So with that, we're past 9:00. Truly, truly, truly do appreciate you guys for indulging in all of this today and participating. These 90-day goal setting challenges are just so meaningful and important. Documenting, taking notes, hope you're journalizing this stuff or using some type of technology to help capture your work and what you're doing. So you can begin to even, I tell folks, especially a lot of these folks who are doing great work, prepare, get your books ready, start writing drafts. Because when you're gone, people need to know, your story. That was one thing that made me sad this week. Was I was just thinking about all of the stories that my old boss Deborah Gray she had, and she had these details. Her father is Fred Gray, the great civil rights attorney who represented Rosa Parks and Dr. King and John Lewis. When all the stuff was going on, he was the attorney, and that's her dad. He's still living. She's his oldest child, and all the stories she had, and just could communicate history in so many different ways. And I got sad earlier this week when I thought about that. All that stuff is gone with her now, and I started searching for articles and things that she may have produced and published, to be able to say, okay, got a little bit of that, saved it, got a little bit of that. But if you didn't publish any of this stuff, the knowledge that you have in your mind and documented it in books or articles or videos or things like that, when you go, it goes with you. And that made me sad when I thought about that. So I was searching. I was like, okay, let me see if I can find some YouTubes or just an article she wrote and things like that. And so it's important for us to document what we know and understand for the generations to value and utilize to help keep the work going. So, all right, I'm done. Anybody have any questions or comments before we finish up for the day? All right, good people. Have a great weekend. Truly was a great call. I appreciate this so much. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. Have a good one.
This session is no longer being recorded.